Thank you once again for joining us on the broadcast. Remember, today we are focusing on sleep training, and that's why the question of the day to you this morning is, have you tried sleep training your infant? Have you tried sleep training your infant? Does it work? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. Have you ever tried sleep training your children? Does it work? Talk to us. That hashtag is a new normal. Well, back to studio and a focus on our conversation of the day. And today we are talking about sleep training. Just to remind you, that question of the day to you is, have you ever tried sleep training your infant, your children? Does it work? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. If we can have that question again, have you ever tried sleep training your infant or your children, generally those that are grown? Does it work? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. And we shall also have that number at the bottom of your screen, and you can also reach us using that number. And if you have any questions or you'd also like to share your experience when it comes to sleep training. And to help us understand this a little bit more is Ruth Mwende, who is a sleep consultant, and we would call her also a baby whisperer. And also joining us are mummies who have walked this path, Naomi Womboi, who is an artist and also a mother of one, and also Rose Mudhoni, who is a journalist and a mother of three. Ladies, thank you for making time for this conversation. And I'll start off with you, Ruth. Being the baby whisperer, help us understand, what is sleep training for those perhaps who are hearing this for the first time?
Thank you, Gladys. For me, I don't like calling it sleep training. I think I look at it from a perspective of ensuring that children have proper sleep habits. The thing about training is it's constant. It's like training a dog. You don't expect mistakes to happen. You don't expect accidents to happen. But for me, children, it's about proper healthy sleep habits and just giving them a full normal life. Yeah.
Okay. And why sleep training? Because this is what you do. You're a sleep practitioner. Why?
Why sleep for me?
Yeah.
I think I love the whole transformation. I love transforming lives. I like a mom coming to me and thinking, I do not know what I need to do. I'm exhausted, or my marriage is on the rocks, or my job is getting affected by the lack of sleep. So I love that transformation of point A to point B to success. Yeah, that's why I love sleep training.
Okay, and you work with both children and adults,
yes,
right?
I do. Yes.
Insomnia is what you're looking to?
Specifically insomnia, because any other sleep disorder could be medical that needs a medical practitioner.
Okay.
Yes.
So are you saying insomnia doesn't really have a medical background?
Sometimes it does, especially for adults who are either on medication or any other, assuming psychological disorders that actually anxiety, depression, bipolar, all those other things now require more medical intervention. For me, I deal with insomnia from the most mildest that require more behavioral therapies rather than medication.
Okay,
Yeah.
so back to the kids, because we're focusing on the children today. Tell us, what is the objective of sleep training?
And I speak for myself as a sleep practitioner. At the end of the day, sleep training is meant to give children proper, healthy sleep habits that meet their biological needs. For the mother, it's about sanity. I think for the mother, it's more sanity than anything else. And overall sleep for both of them. Yeah.
Okay. So ladies, I see you nodding and agreeing with her. So let me hear first of all from Naomi, mother of one. Clearly this is the first time you're doing it. Had you ever heard about sleep training?
You know, I've heard about it, but after having the baby, I was like, I don't know if I could let a baby cry. You know, I don't want to go through that. But it hit like 6 months and I wasn't getting any sleep, and I was like, it's either my sanity or like something has to give in order for me to actually live my life, you know. So I've heard of it. I actually had worked with somebody else before working with Ruth. They kind of just, that didn't work out. But then once I met Ruth, hey, my life changed.
Okay, so what didn't work out the first time around?
Okay, well, the other strategy, I guess the strategy that the other sleep trainer was supposedly doing, because that one was more of, I just paid a fee and she just talked at me and just gave me like a schedule, like just gave me a schedule and said, here, go ahead and do that. And so I'm just like, there was no explanation. She didn't explain to me like, you know, all children are different, that maybe my child is gonna fight a bit more, which she does. So yeah, so that was the difficult, that was the most difficult part.
Okay, and definitely, Ruth, this brings to the fore that one size doesn't fit all, right?
Exactly. And that even goes across to adults. Our sleep rhythms are different. We don't all sleep the same. And so children don't sleep the same. I wish there was a blueprint for everybody, but there isn't. Each child has their own sleep rhythms, sleep patterns, adaptation techniques, and even the family setting itself. Who you are in your own home with your child really matters. And that is what helps me take the parent from point A to point B.
And perhaps somebody is thinking, this child just got here, we're told they come with a clean slate, you're the one who's teaching it to them, so perhaps everything would work for all of them.
And that's also a misconception, because then this brings us to the point where everybody goes on the internet. Trust me, we have been there. We have been to that place like, oh yeah, put the baby down, Rosie, better wake. And then you realize it's such a scam. That does not even work. Or, oh yeah, Gladyss, by the way, what did you do with your baby? Oh yeah, let's try that. Oh, you give the baby a pacifier. Let's try that. Then your baby throws it out and you're thinking, oh, now I failed as a mom. Okay? And then let's take social media, for example. We all want to be social media moms, granted. But what somebody does, and you go pick that, it's just a total fail. Yeah, and then now at the end of the day, it's just like sleep training does not work.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And what's your experience, my dear?
I'm a mother of 3.
Yes.
My first 2 were born a bit earlier. So my firstborn is 10, my secondborn is 8. The reason I sleep trained my third, because the first 2 are not, is because I went berserk with the first 2. I was super tired. I just didn't want to hear that I could have another baby after those 2. And my firstborn did not sleep at all.
Okay.
And that meant she didn't feed well, she was sickly, she was angry, she was not happy, she was not a happy baby. Thankfully the second one used to sleep pretty well, but of course nursing through the night, so he was sleeping, I wasn't. But you could see the difference between the 2. The second one was gaining weight. I didn't even go to hospital for the first year with the second born, apart from the usual vaccines. So I knew that the difference between these 2 is that one was sleeping and the other wasn't.
Okay.
So when I decided I'm going to have my third, actually I decided I'm going to have my third after I read about Mwende. So it was like a year before.
So when you heard about sleep training is when you decided to have a third one.
Have a third baby. So I read up, we became friends on Facebook, and I knew that immediately I have this baby, I have to do something about their sleep hygiene. So when he hit 4 months, I contacted Mwende, and you know, everything was smooth. And the same thing happened. Apart from the cold here and there, he's not a sickly baby, he feeds well, he is super happy, and you know, the joy is just endless.
Okay. The first 2 children, boys or girls?
Girls.
And then the last one is a boy.
It's a boy.
Okay. And for the first 2, had you ever heard about sleep training?
No.
Okay.
No. I just knew you just move on with life with your baby.
So even without baby shower, none of the moms mentioned that there's that option?
I didn't have a baby shower. So I didn't know that you can sleep train. And then I wasn't, that time I wasn't such an avid reader. So by the time I was having my third, I had read a lot. I had actually seen there are a lot of things you can do for your child so that you have a happy, contented baby and you're also a happy mother.
Okay. And speaking about happy mother, you had mentioned you actually faced postpartum depression, right?
Yes, with my firstborn, bad postpartum depression, really bad.
Okay.
So just moving through life in a haze. I didn't even feed well. I think I used to survive on tea and bread because I couldn't even cook, and I didn't have help at the time because I was not working, so I didn't see the need. So imagine you're not sleeping and you're depressed, and then it's your firstborn, so you don't even know whether this is a passing phase or it's something that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. Then just when I was getting out of the fog, found out I was pregnant.
With the second one?
With the second one.
Oh,
so I knew I'm done for.
I hear you. So would you say that the PPD was fueled by the lack of sleep, or it was there to start with?
I think it was fueled because with my third, I had a bit of it, postpartum anxiety. I think I told Mwende because it came at around 3 months, and after the baby was sleep trained, just disappeared. I was happier. So I knew the reason the first one stayed for so long was because I was also sleep deprived and tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
PPD, this is something you hear of often, Ruth?
Yes, yes, that including postpartum anxiety. Your brain is not resting, your body is not resting. All these other things, just the thought of motherhood, and motherhood is really exhausting. It's just like we don't say it, but it is exhausting. Everything needs you, everybody needs you, the baby needs you, your husband needs you. So everything is not working at the same time. And here you are thinking, oh my God, I'm actually failing. And you know, all those thoughts, you know, it starts actually as baby blues, you know, you're all teary and everything, and then now it moves to more extremes of now I do not know what to do. Like she's saying, she never used to eat because basically even eating is at the bottom of your
the Maslow's list at this point.
And they say that you would die faster from sleep deprivation than food deprivation.
Oh really?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Wow, that is important. Now let me hear from Naomi. She's already told us the pluses she's gotten with at least the third born. How is it with the baby since you sleep trained?
Since I sleep trained, it's been amazing because I actually was experiencing a lot of postpartum anxiety and the baby blues in the beginning. Then once I went Ruth, all of that changed. It was hard. Okay, my baby's temperament is very much like mine. So she's cheeky. We can say she's cheeky. You know, she knows what she's doing she's at a very young age. But I would say that I would say that it just helped.
Okay. So how has she changed? How have you seen the difference?
Okay, in the beginning, she wasn't sleeping at all. Like my child just did not like to sleep, especially as a baby. From the time we brought her from the hospital, she didn't like to sleep at all. And I love sleep. I love it. So I needed it. But so even I started at like 7-8 months sleep training her, and I wish I had started earlier, but we started at 8 months, and once that hit, she actually finally started taking like her afternoon naps like that same week, I think, and I started seeing she was sleeping longer and longer at night. It came like a month or so later when she started sleeping through the night, which was amazing, and it helped me so much because I was actually able to now do other stuff rather than just staying at home with the baby trying to get her to sleep, you know. I felt like I had my life back, actually.
Okay,
honestly.
so for purposes of somebody who's never gone through postpartum depression, give us a tidbit of how it felt, the anxiety that came with the first time baby.
Hey, it just feels like you can't do it. Like it just feels like you don't want to go on, honestly. Okay, I'm speaking from my perspective. It feels I was just sad all the time. I was sad. I wasn't enjoying the moment of having my first baby, you know, because I felt like it was kind of a burden that was put upon me in a way, because of my feelings, because of lack of sleep. That's why. But once I started finally getting back into the rhythm of things with sleep, like I was able to live in the moment, and you know, this is my first baby, and I feel bad for women that like I didn't get full on into the postpartum depression, and I thank God for that. A lot of prayers and sleep. Yes.
So clearly sleep is an integral part of keeping your physical or rather mental wellness too. For you, how did that look like? How did the anxiety and full-blown depression look like for you?
I think with depression, you're asking yourself, what have I done? Why did I think I could do this? Why did I bring this baby here? Should I give this baby away? Am I even equipped to raise a child? And that was a question you ask yourself every day. There were times when my mother would ask for the baby, and you know, you just want to give that baby away for good because you know, you're just tired. And I thought something is wrong with me. I don't think you're supposed to feel like this as a mother. What is going on? And it took a long time before I knew it was actually postpartum depression. I was angry all the time. I didn't even want to communicate. I didn't want to talk to anyone. and I didn't know it was the sleep that was the issue. But with my son, because now obviously it starts as postpartum anxiety before it develops into full-blown depression. With my son, I just felt I was panicking. This is my third child. I've done this twice before. Why is it difficult? Why can't I get over this? I was worried that I'm going to mess up his sleep. I'm going to mess up his health. But the moment we figured out the sleep, everything just fell in place. When we started solids, because that's when whether your child is a good eater or is not a good eater. He took to it very fast because he was sleeping well. So he would wake up hungry, feed very well, play, and then go back to sleep without a hassle.
Okay.
So the depression is not funny.
I hear you. I hear you, because you're the mother who's supposed to be nursing at the same time. You're dealing with your own challenges. And I think, Ruth, it's so important to talk about this because a lot of PPD clearly is pegged on the fact that there's this new change that has come into your life and you need to actually adjust to it. And perhaps you feel inadequate, especially when the child does not sleep. So talk about just being aware of that beat from the get-go.
And that's the thing. If you are aware of it and the people around you realize it, then you need to find the root cause of it. Because there's this term like, motherhood is supposed to be like that. Welcome to motherhood. People don't sleep. And I think that narrative needs to change from the baby showers. We need veteran moms to bring it down to the down and the ugly of motherhood. It looks like this. It's not all breezy. That the moments that you want to cry, the moments your baby will wake up hourly. But we can't say, oh, okay, Naomi, even my baby wakes up hourly. That is not helpful. Number two, there must be proper information across the board, especially on sleep. Because then if you pick a book and you say, this is the book and the gospel that is meant to be for me for sleep, then you may miss out on the point of realizing that your baby is not mechanical. Your baby is human. So for me, I think if you're talking about postpartum depression from birth, you need to see it, you need to get the support and get the right information rather than just saying, it's going to pass. Okay, but also so and so is not sleeping. And also our parents will be like, we went through it, we survived. But remember, in the old days we had a village that was raising our kids. Right now we are busy moms. Life is moving so fast.
It's too fast,
and so you don't catch up with it. And then you put that on the back burner. And guess what? The same moms find themselves at postpartum depression even at 1 year.
Oh, wow. Okay, so are we establishing here that not sleeping is not normal?
It isn't, even for you. Let's not even talk about children. Let's even talk about you as an adult. You don't sleep. You will be reading the news, seeing double vision.
Oh, yeah.
You will be on the road, road rage. You will be having daytime sleepiness. You're just moody. You're just a cranky human being. You're barely eating. Your mental health will be affected. So your sleep is important for your whole well-being.
Okay, so you're also a mother of one.
Yes.
Boy or girl?
A girl.
All right.
Yes.
How old are they?
Almost 8.
So 8 years?
Yes.
Okay, so what you speak of is something that you've tried and tested.
Now that's the thing. For me, I never sleep trained, and they can tell you I do not talk about having sleep trained my child.
Okay.
I thrive on schedules and routines. I prefer to have certain things planned out. My daughter was very colicky, and I preferred to have a plan. So I knew that getting this baby home, I must have this baby sleeping. And that's exactly what I did. I did not actually know I was sleep training in my head. Honestly, I did not follow any rule books. I did not follow anything. I followed my child's cues, and it's the same application I do. Even in sleep training, the children. One of the questions I ask them is, what do you see? I'm not giving you something mechanical. It's what do you see? How do we get your baby from this point to this point? So with my daughter, I did not sleep train, but I'm a stickler for routines and schedules. I do not negotiate about sleep. Yes.
Okay, so I guess that self-awareness was already there, so it gave you an upper hand. Now, boy, sleep trained, doing well. The first two were girls, gave you a hard time. Girl also gave you a hard time, but now we're in a good place. Yes. You have a daughter who seemed to have gotten into the system seamlessly. Yes. Is there a difference when it comes to the genders when you're trying to sleep train?
Yes and no. In my experience, I think boys are harder to sleep train.
Okay.
Yes.
Why?
I do not know. I do not think I have a reason, but I always find that the boys are a bit harder. However, on the flip side, temperament is the most important. We were having this discussion with Naomi in the lobby, and I was telling her she now sees what I used to see about her daughter. Her daughter is very strong temperamental wise. She is the I want what I want, I will not sleep kind of child. Her son is easy. He's the easy, less fussy, I will follow the cues, I will follow the rhythm kind of baby. Now, that's what separates all kids. And so imagine I have 5 like Naomi's who will take a whole week to adjust to the changes and to fight through the process. And then I get a boy who's easy to follow the routines. That is what separates the two out of the kids.
Interesting. Okay, now I could chime in because I've been down this road, but hey, let me hear from you guys. So Naomi, you started off 7-8 months sleep training. What was the first thing you were told to look out for?
What was the first thing I was told to look out for? It was just looking, well, after you, she takes a nap, look out for her sleepiness. Like, just watch if you can see physically that she's sleepy, you know.
And what are those cues?
It's literally like the babies will like rub their eyes, or she'll even yawn, or you can just tell her mood will change. When she gets sleepy, she's now like a little more quieter. She's like, you can tell. Well, I can tell because she's my child.
Okay.
but I guess mother's instinct. So yeah, just to look out for those specific cues, and then of course count like 2 hours from the last nap. Then you know all of that.
Okay, so when you were told to look out for these cues, are these things that came back to you for wait a minute? They were always there, but I never paid attention.
I think they were. They honestly, actually were. But I was now thinking back, like I remember seeing all of it. I knew when she was sleepy, but I just didn't. I thought that I was supposed to follow this book that was telling me to do A, B, and C, and that's how I was going to get her to bed. I didn't know that she's a human being. Like, just when she's tired, she's tired. Follow her cues, not what a book says.
All right. So we're talking more about the sleep rhythms that Ruth was talking about. So when you started noticing what she needs when she needs it, what happens after that?
What do you mean? The change?
So yeah, when you see the cues, what do you do after that?
After that, I take her up to the room. I'll either give her a bottle if she hadn't had one like 30 minutes before. I just take her up to the room, lay her in the bed, because right now she's sleepy, right? Sleepy but awake. Lay her in the bed. In the beginning, I would stay there, like pat her back till she fell asleep. Then I stopped. After like a couple days, I would scoot back a little further, put her down, then watch her fall asleep, and then after that, put her down, go out of the room. Yeah, and she put up a fight. She would put up a fight. I would have to come over there, but she learned. But she learned that when it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. Like, I'm in my bed now.
All right. Okay. And how about you, Rose?
For me, the first thing, because I had read several books on sleep training.
Yes.
So I knew about the cues, so I would actually follow the cues, but now I would rock the baby or breastfeed the baby to sleep. Then of course, because he wasn't sleeping on his own, we were co-sleeping. I will take him to bed with me, and since I was home, I just decided, let me sleep when the baby sleeps, which is actually
counterproductive.
Such a scam. So when I talked to Mwende, the first thing we identified is that he was leaf-laxy. Because he would spit a lot, and first we had to establish whether I was overfeeding him, because you know I was the old mother. I had the old mother habits where baby cries, you whip the boob, baby cries, you whip the boob. So first I realized that I was overfeeding him, and I needed to decipher his cries. Why is he crying? Is he crying because he's hungry? Is he crying because he has a dirty diaper, or is he crying because he's sleepy? So in the process of just talking to Mwende, I was able to read my baby's cues now better. I knew why he was behaving a certain way. So after establishing that he had reflux, we got treatment for that, and Now the next key was, of course, to teach him how to sleep independently, and we did the same way as Naomi did. But for me, because he had a he's just a gentle baby.
Yeah.
So it took shorter, because we started with naps, and I think by the third day, we just put him in bed, he would smile, and I would leave the room, and he would sleep.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so
okay.
For him it was easier. The problem, I think my biggest challenge was now resettling, because sometimes he would wake up shortly after. But also that took very few days, and he just slept.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly showing the different temperaments and how they took up to the sleep training.
Yeah.
Now, Ruth, when you talk about cues, are these the same across board for the babies?
Yes, they are. It's very easy for you to know that your baby is tired. Your child moves from play to scream, 0 to 100 in such a short time. But this is the thing. Again, let's go back to old school mentality of sleep. Baby sleeps when the baby sleeps. And then you have a cranky baby. And I bet you've heard that. The baby will sleep when they sleep. And so your baby is crying. Oh yeah, your baby is hungry. Then you keep constantly feeding the baby. And you see, for some people, they do that for such a long time. A year into it, and you're like, why does my baby keep crying? Why is my baby's mood changing? Why is this? So basically, from yawning to crying to rubbing their eyes and pulling their hair and pulling their ears is just a standard way for you to know that my child needs to sleep.
Okay, so I think the biggest challenge being a parent also is you've identified the cues. You've changed the diaper, you fed them, they just will not fall asleep. What do we do?
Let's start with babies are not mechanical. We've made kids to be so robotic. Which then brings me to, there's something called sleep windows, and that varies, because then I'd be here for the whole day to talk about sleep windows. So the period between the time your baby wakes up and the time they go to sleep would vary depending on their age. You notice with the two of them, each person came in at different entry points. Each one of them had different issues affecting them. Their intensity is also different. Somebody might have gone through something for a whole 2.5 years, and just like any other behavioral issue, you have to go through the process. It's like losing weight. You want to lose weight, you need to go through certain processes. Now, when you say your baby cannot sleep, you may have missed the sleep window. You cannot put an overtired baby to sleep, no matter how much you try. And I think for both of them, I used to tell them, if you're late, you will not put your baby to sleep.
And why is it counterproductive?
Because an overtired baby cannot sleep. Let me pick the adult version of it. You need to go to bed when you're sleepy. The problem with adults is it's just one more movie, it's one more thing, it's one more thing. When you do get to bed, what do? You toss and turn a lot. And then you keep tossing, and then you take your phone, and then again, that's the counterproductive bit of it. So with children, you missed the window 2 hours ago, the baby started yawning at an hour. So now they've moved from 0 to 100. Now I do not know what to do. Then you have a crying baby.
Now I see. So could it be because they are now totally upset? So there's an adrenaline rush. So that in itself is stopping them from sleeping. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, exactly.
So when you talk about windows, what windows are these?
Okay, so I call it a threshold between the time the baby wakes up to the time you see their first yawn. The first yawn should be the first cue of, we need to sleep now. You miss that, you've tipped over to another side.
Okay.
So that's the first thing parents need to do. My baby yawns, I need to figure out what the next thing is. That's why routines and schedules are of importance. Because there are parents who wing it. That's fine. But then again, with winging it, you'll always find that they are more tired, they're more exhausted. They're like, this child just doesn't sleep. Then they either throw away naps, or now they actually do not even care about now their baby sleep at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when we talk about now when they yawn, make sure they go to sleep and all that, then what else should you be aware of around ensuring that they actually settle down and sleep?
Their environment is really important. Just normal things. Make sure they're fed, they're within the sleep window. There are no other external things that may be affecting them. Well, basically, you may not be in control of your environment in terms of the outside noise, but you're in control of your inside environment. So is the bed safe? Is the bed clean? You know, do they have a good mattress? etc. Just normal. Now, which then brings me to then how do they fall asleep?
Yes.
Now, this again will vary across the board. You remember when we were talking about misinformation about infancy? Now, when it comes to infancy, it's the one thing people do wrong. You hope that your baby will put themselves to sleep. Your infant can't put themselves to sleep.
Okay.
They cannot. Your 2-day-old baby, you want them to put themselves to sleep, they will not. Basically, between 0 and, well, some babies will take this a bit longer, to around 12 weeks, they may not put themselves to sleep. So they will need assistance. I think for me, sleep training is about parent intervention. You must be there. You just don't leave a baby and just walk out. It is, for me, very inhuman, and I think you don't give the baby the chance to learn. You're actually telling them that you're abandoning them. Again, from how I run my program is, I don't believe in abandonment kind of parenting. I think it is important to be very attached to your baby, to lead them and to show them what it means. So when it comes to your infants, it's all about swaddle, shush, rock, and put them down. However, as they grow older, you need to learn how to transition between all those things. Learn to put them drowsy but awake. Learn to be there present until you can constantly walk out of the room and they can put themselves to sleep.
Okay.
Easier said than done.
Definitely so.
Yes.
And somebody here, actually, Stella is asking, did we have sleep training before? How did our mothers hack it?
Remember, we used to have a village. I am going to the river. Here. You'll always find your baby sleeping. Now the thing is, and we practically, I think our parents didn't have the shush thing. Your parents would be like, yeah, but I used to give my baby food and just put them in bed. Literally, our parents used to do what we call crying it out. Yeah, they just were like, are you clean? Are you full? I'll put you there. And they go do other things.
Utalia mpaka ulale.
Utalia ulale. Now that's crying it out.
Okay.
Yes.
Good or bad?
I do not think I think it's used now as a desperate measure to get your kids to sleep, and it's counterproductive sometimes for some people.
And is this what you're referring to as abandonment?
Yes. Again, and then you see a lot of people do crying it out without knowing exactly what they're solving. You just need your baby to sleep. But what if your baby is hungry and you're not responding to them? Then what?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're about to take a short break here on Your World, but I understand we have a question on that feedback this morning. Remember, the question of the day is, what have you ever tried, sleep training your child? How did that go? Did it work? And we have Clinton Onyango who says, hello, Ruth. I have a baby boy. He's 6 months now. He stays with the mother in a different place where I stay. She lets the baby sleep for up to 6 hours with no breastfeeding in between. I'm afraid he might get malnourished with poor sleep patterns. What is your suggestion? Okay, this is an interesting one. I mean, there are mothers who would say, Amelala, ato simwamushe. So, what are we doing here?
I actually think that baby is sleeping so well.
6 hours straight?
Exactly, at 6 months he's doing fantastic. That, if I was looking at that case, I'd say this baby is taking in their calories really well. And so they will wake up. Looking at what he said, he's not basically sleeping through the night, so he will wake up, get his feed, and sleep well, and sleep the rest of the night. I think that boy is sleeping well.
All right. Yeah. So clearly, Clinton, you're doing very well. Do not be worried about it. And if you have more questions, of course, Ruth will be in a position to answer them. Well, let's take a quick break right here on Your World. When we return, more of your questions to Ruth and, of course, to the mummies now that they have experience. And also, as we understand some of the things we've had before. For example, how can a mother put a baby to sleep and for some reason when they go back into the same room, the child wakes up, but another person, they never do? What is that? We'll be back. Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today the conversation is sleep training. We have Ruth Wonder, who is a sleep consultant and also a baby whisperer, as we call her. Naomi Wamboy, who's an artist and a mother of one. And of course, Rose Modoni, who's a journalist and a mother of three, helping along in understanding this conversation about sleep training. And remember, we asked you on that question of the day, have you ever tried sleep training your children, your infant? And does that work? Did it work for you? Talk to us. That hashtag is new normal. And if you have any questions questions for Ruth, of course, you have that number on the bottom of your screen to reach us with the same. And before we went to break, there's something I picked up on, especially with Rose. You said that you were caught up with the rocking to the child to sleep.
Yes.
All right. Two things: rocking the child to sleep and sleeping with them.
Yeah.
Why did you resort to this?
It's easier. You know, it used to work at the time. So you nurse the baby, they are drowsy, they sleep. But the problem is the moment you place them down,
They wake up.
So, you know, this cycle of nursing your baby and then holding the baby to sleep, and they'll not even sleep for more than 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, they are awake. So I knew at the beginning it was working because they would sleep longer, but as the time went by the time he was hitting 3 months, it just didn't work. It just didn't work because I think he had gotten to a point where he wanted something better other than breastfeeding and rocking to sleep. And then this is a reflexy baby. So after 20 minutes when he wakes up again, you breastfeed him. So it means he'll sleep, but now he'll have spit up. And the spit up is, I think he used to have some burning sensation on it. So he would not go back to sleep after that. Okay. So it was counterproductive, even though it was the most comfortable way of putting him to sleep. And I knew this boy needs to learn how to sleep independently so that he can sleep for longer stretches and have restorative sleep. Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about 20 minutes, are we talking about the naps during the day or even at night?
The naps are 20 minutes long, the longest. But when I was coming in, actually they had gone to 18 minutes, 15, 10, just funny naps. But at night he would sleep an hour. Because I think when we did the logs, we were doing 8 weeks at night or 9 weeks at night.
Wow.
Yes.
An hour. So every hour you had to wake up.
Yeah, and you have to burp him because he's reflexy. So you wake up, you feed him, you have to wait until he burps before you put him to bed. So it means probably I was sleeping, the most I was sleeping is 4 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, because now after you've put him to bed, you also have to go through the process of putting yourself to sleep.
True, you're already, And when you used to sleep with him, would he sleep through the night?
No.
How many hours would you do?
He would wake up hourly.
Even when he's right next to you?
Yes, he would, there's a boob there, he can smell the breast milk, so he's not going to sleep. He is full, you know he's full because he's spitting up. But when he wakes up, because I put him to sleep through the boob, so when he wakes up, he expects that that's the same way you're going to put him back to sleep.
So for him, the boob was the pacifier?
Yeah, the boob was the pacifier. So imagine just breastfeeding throughout the night, you're not sleeping, and then this baby is spitting up. He used to vomit in, but as in full-blown vomiting because he's overfed. He's tired, he's cranky, and the only way he knows how to sleep is through the boob, even though he's already full.
Okay.
Yeah, so it didn't work.
All right. Now, Ruth, let's start with the fact that rocking is something we've seen our mothers do to our siblings, so that's how it was modeled to us. Why is it counterproductive when it comes to sleep training?
That's the thing. It's not counterproductive.
What is it about it?
You hold on to the same thing for a long time. And remember, this baby is growing. Their sleep patterns are also changing. I believe you grow with your child. You grow together, so you learn to do certain things as you progress. Like we were saying, every single time I told them, we do this today, we do something tomorrow, like that. So that your baby does not get attached to one single thing. And it means you're literally graduating from one point to another. So you can move from rocking to drowsy but awake to I can pat and shush the baby to literally I can walk out of the door. But if you hold on to rocking for what, 1 year? And you meet me and you're like, I'm like, put the baby down. You imagine the process this baby has to go through. They've adjusted to the rocking, and then now people think I'm crazy because they're like, how exactly do you whisper to these kids? They can tell you that actually happens. You need to understand. Now this is where now the whole process of sleep training takes place. It is understanding what are your problems, where are they coming from, how do you solve the problem. I look at sleep training as a 1,000-piece puzzle, and each piece has to fit where it needs to fit. Yeah. All
right, so a lot of mothers I hear sleep with their children, you know, especially the first few months of their lives. What exactly would work against you? Because others were like, that's how it's supposed to be. This baby was in your womb. How would you want to separate yourself with them? So what exactly should we keep in mind about this?
Can I tell you something? I've never been against co-sleeping. I co-slept with my daughter. Now, the thing about co-sleeping, and I don't think it's bad, I just think a lot of people don't know how to do it. Even when I do sleep train, I find people are like, I do not have either a separate bed, I cannot afford a separate bed, and I want to co-sleep. It's just that the discipline of sleep training in a co-sleeping situation is harder. There's a lot of quote ignoring that needs to happen. But you see, the older the baby grows, assuming your baby is 8 months, your baby rolls on the other side and finds the boob, and then you constantly do that. Or people who co-sleep, you have no kidney the next day because your baby poked you somewhere you did not sleep the whole. That's what is counterproductive in terms of sleeping with your baby. However, you can co-sleep the first few weeks. Don't stretch it out to 3 months, because then one of the biggest questions people ask me is, my baby has refused their crib. I do not even know how to put this baby in their crib. It's because, again, you've been holding on to sleeping with that baby in that bed for such a long time, and then now moving is still an issue.
Okay, so if it's going to be about teaching this child certain habits, why not just put the child on the crib from the get-go?
Exactly. Start from that. From the get-go. It gets easier. But guess what? In this cycle of life, regressions come.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, the baby's standing. I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? Boom, back to co-sleeping.
All right, and especially for the moms who just want to sleep when they sing, you just give the boob and you also sleep, so you don't have to wake up.
Or not sleep. You think that moving the baby out of the cot gives you better sleep, only for them to constantly wake up every hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And for you, how did that look like? What were the things that you were struggling with?
Exactly that. Lack of sleep. So I was co-sleeping when I brought her from the hospital. So she was, at night, she was up every 2 hours. Throughout the day, she would only take 20 minutes naps because I was feeding to sleep and rocking her to sleep. And so when she would wake up after the 20-minute nap, that's what she was looking for. And even during the day, she wouldn't go back to bed. But at night, only 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours here. Every 2 hours she was up and feeding. So when I did decide to move her to her own bed, it was a harder transition, but she learned. At the end of the day, she did learn. She was able to do that.
What did you struggle with? Because at times it's the mother letting go.
Yes, and
that's actually the issue. Yeah,
that's what I struggled with more. Like I wanted her with me, and Ruth was like, put that baby in her bed. Like, so I think it was me, and then it was also just the lack of sleep on my end. It was just easier to wake up and roll over instead of getting out of my bed, going to get her from her crib. You know, coming to bring her back to feed her, to go put her back. It was a lot easier on my side to get just a couple more minutes of sleep, you know.
Yeah. I hear you. So Ruth, help us understand. This child needs to feed at least how many times in the night, especially when they are really young?
At what specific age?
That's the thing. We need to understand, because there are some that hang on to the kids when they're younger because they wake up frequently because their tummy is smaller. Then they never break that until they are older. So give us a breakdown of the developmental stages and what informs the sleeping patterns.
Okay. Basically, when you've brought your infant home, I do expect them to wake up, especially at night, every hour and a half.
Okay.
But that should increase as they grow older. So we are saying we are at, let me pick 6 weeks. Let's start at 6 weeks. Because between 0 and 3 weeks, your baby is just constantly, tanking up because they need it. So they're either up an hour or 2 hours. They move to 3 hours. Give or take, at 6 weeks, they're up every 3 hours. But they keep graduating because at 8 weeks, the sleep is more stable. So they could pull at 3.5, 4 hours. I actually think every other month, your baby should be able to do an extra hour of sleep as they grow. Constantly. However, some kids do longer hours. You would find maybe an 8-week-old who's able to sleep at least 4 or 5 hours, and mostly you find those are the easy kind of kids. They feed well, they take in the calories well, they are on schedule, they are easy to put down. But then majority, which is 80% of the kids, they're like, what is sleep? I am not going to sleep. So your babies need to graduate in terms of sleep. There are kids who would sleep through the night at 4 months. Some kids can sleep at 6 months. Sleeping through the night again is developmental. So those wakes, some kids at 9 months are still on 1 feed a night. Some children and some kids sleep through the night. How different kids are, how unique the sleep patterns are, is just as unique as our fingerprints.
Very well said. So, Rose, tell me, a typical day, when you talk about the routine of your child, the sleep routine of your child, how does a day look like?
We start our day at 7, latest 7:30. That's when he wakes up. A full feed, a full milk feed. Then after 30 minutes, he's on solids already, so he'll have his breakfast. Right now we are at a 2.5 hour wake window. So at 2 hours 25 minutes, we know it's time to start preparing for bed, because also there needs to be something to cue the baby that it's time to go to sleep. So close the curtains, put the volume on the radio down, put him in his sleeping bag, then I go put him in his bed, say, Lala baby, I love you, leave the room. Within 3 minutes he's asleep.
Okay.
So he'll pull a 1 hour 30 minutes to 2 hour nap, then wake up, and again we'll do the solids, we'll do the milk feeds, and then again after 2.5 hours, now he's doing 2 naps currently during the day.
Yes.
So following the window at between 6:30 and 7, we put him down for the night.
Yeah.
He's still having 1 week because of the 8-month sleep regression, so he'll wake up either at 2 or 3, and then after he goes back to bed at 3:30, he'll wake up again at 7.
At 7:30.
Yes, yes.
Oh wow, that sounds magical. I'm sure there's a parent
Magical.
thinking, what do you mean? Children sleep like that.
Yes.
But tell me this, when do you bath your child?
I bath him before he goes to sleep.
Why?
Because I find it's relaxing. He's been busy the whole day. He's been eating, playing, and everything.
Yes.
So it's part of the wind down routine. I don't think it's a must, but for me, I prefer that he has his bath and massage before he has his longest stretch of sleep. So we'll bath him, change his diaper, give him a milk feed. After he's bapped, I'm still bapping him because of the reflux.
Yeah.
After he's bapped, a good massage, then put him in his sleeping bag, and the same thing happens. Put him in bed, tell him, Lala, I love you, and leave the room.
Okay, what do you do with the 2.5 windows during the day? What are you doing with him?
Play. Actually, it's very important that your baby plays, because if he's, people talk of being overtired a lot, but they're also undertired. If your baby is undertired, he's not going to sleep.
Yeah.
Or he's going to have a very short nap. So playing is very important. Right now he's moving, so he's crawling. Sometimes he'll stand with stuff in the house. He likes his toys. He gets frustrated at his toys, and that is very important. And I think also for mothers, it's important that we know that crying is not always crying. Sometimes they're just whining because they're learning something.
Yeah.
So he'll try to maneuver a toy and he'll get frustrated, and of course he'll probably whine. But you don't stop encouraging the baby to play with the toys, because he needs the play. And that is how he develops, his mind develops as well. So between the 2.5 hours, he's eating and playing, a lot of playing. Sometimes he will also take strolls outside, so that, you know, he sees an animal there, an animal here, so he's very stimulated, so that by the time he's going to sleep, he's tired.
Okay, interesting. Does that sound similar to you too?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Very similar.
And is it a little bit for the girl?
For her, well, we're doing a 3-hour wake window now that she's 1, and she went through her regression. So her day starts at like between 6 and 7, depending on when she went to sleep the night before. Like if she went to sleep, like if she was overtired going to sleep, she'll wake up earlier, so she'll get less sleep. So that's when she wakes up at 6:30, but it's okay. So then from there, once she wakes up, we do 3 hours. So that's breakfast, and then fruits like an hour later, then play, definitely play, and then nap by like 9-10, depending on when she woke up. And then after she wakes up from that nap, which is usually 2 hours, we'll just do lunch, and then lots of play. And then also, like, another cue that I've noticed with Kenya is that she will get, while she's playing, I'll know when she's tired because she'll get a bit fussy, you know, like she'll want this toy, and if she doesn't get what she wants, then it's like, okay, now, and so like 15 minutes before, I'll take her upstairs, give her the bottle now, let her wind down before the now 3-hour hits, and then put her down to sleep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Rose talked about putting him in a sleeping bag. Do you swaddle your daughter?
Hey, I tried. when she was like up to like 3-4 months. Once she was able to move her hands, she refused that thing completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Ruth, we see that even on social media, and of course .com mothers, as my mother would call them, they swaddle their kids. Why?
There's nothing wrong with swaddling.
But it's the one that we see on Instagram, especially. The child has been swaddled. When they wake up, they have to stretch.
Yeah, it's really good.
Why? What's the rationale behind this?
First of all, it's comfortable. Let's start there. Especially when they're infants.
It mimics the womb.
It mimics the womb. And then you see the difference in their kids is one of the reasons why I know why she puts the sleep sack on is because he's standing.
Oh,
So immediately your baby learns to stand in the cot. Well, you're done for it. Because then you literally put them down every 15 seconds, they're up. In a minute, they've stood 150 times and you're tired. So with the sleeping sack, it limits that kind of movement. For her daughter is one. This is a child who's walking and running, literally. So she can put the baby down and the baby can stand up. But then she'll be like, I'm tired. I might as well just sit down and then lie down because the baby has that cognitive ability to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the kids are on a different age, and definitely even the sleep windows are longer and shorter depending on the age. So what's the impact of the developmental stages when it comes to sleep?
Which we call regressions and growth spurts. They come in all form of names. Most of the time during regressions, there's a lot of, I'll put it in air quotes, fights, because the baby either does not want to miss out on play, or it's so cool being outside, or, you know, there's so much fear of missing out on life. Or I've just learned to walk and sit, and in the middle of the night your baby has sat and it's in the darkness and it is creepy because your baby has just realized that it's a cool ability to do. And so they disrupt sleep. Now the problem is most parents then would hang on to this regression. Basically, you need to be prepared to know that you cannot control regressions. You cannot control growth spurts. You cannot control that your child has just realized, I can move between this table. You can't control that. So when it comes to physical movements, allow the baby to practice a lot during the day, take them out to play more, and then now they will get tired of their newfound abilities. However, it does come as a passing phase if you understand that the only thing you can control is when your baby sleeps and how your baby sleeps. Those are the only two things you can control.
Okay.
Just like teething. You can't control teething, you manage teething. Yes.
Okay. And the feeding, I hear a lot also that it's very intentional about feeding. Is this also important? Does it impact on the sleeping?
I would say yes and no. Reason I say no is because a lot of people would say, oh, when my baby starts eating, they will sleep. That's a myth. Her child was eating 5-6 meals and still not sleeping. So it was not food related at that point. Some children would require, yes, intake of calories to ensure that they're not actually sleeping hungry, because as I go through the evaluation, I notice this baby is not taking in the calories they need. So what do? We increase their intake of calories and then teach them now what proper sleep habits are. That's why you notice there's a lot of routine, there's a lot of checking out on the cues and knowing when the baby needs to sleep and knowing when they need to eat. There's no way a sleepy baby can eat. They will be dozing and crying and you're like, okay, so now my baby has not eaten. What does that translate to? My baby went to sleep hungry, then they woke up every hour.
Okay, so you've got to be so aware about those patterns and schedules. So what happens to those that are not sticklers to schedules?
Now, this is now where things boil down to choices. Just like homeschooling and normal school. This is a parenting choice. If you're a mom and you're like, I have a demanding job, I need to go to work, I will be fired because if my clients are not happy, I'll be fired, then it's something you should consider. If you're a stay-at-home mom, or you work from home mom, then you are like, I have meetings the whole day, I can't function with this, then you should consider it. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you can wing it, but you'll always find you're angry most of the time.
Okay, all right. I hear you. Remember, this sleep training is not only for the baby, as Ruth said, it's also for the sanity of the mother. But there are some people who've said it's a selfish thing that mothers do. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm told that you're talking to us, even as we asked you that question, have you tried to sleep train your infant, your grown children? Does it work? Would you actually recommend this? Dennis Mbabu says, please, people out here, do not understand what they give, especially with sleep training offering Google advice like WebMD instead of taking the personal approach. With adjustment to the hashtag new normal, such advice and personal approach is needed. Thank you, Dennis. And it's interesting that the guys are the ones who are talking to us, yeah? Karanja Jonty says enough sleep also helps in digestion of metal in the body. It also helps in controlling soil erosion in the brain. What in God's name is that? All right, let's move on. And Grace says, can you sleep train a 7- and 5-year-old? Amma, what's the way forward for lower primary school going kids, as sometimes it's hectic for them and they fight back sleep? That's a good question. Ruth?
Most of the time, and maybe for people who know me, I actually do this until age 9. The thing about sleep is when you don't do this, your kids never honestly outgrow this. Just like insomnia in adults, it is quote quote just bad manners of sleep, right? And so you look at, let's say her daughter is 1, and you just go through this phase of not sleeping, and she's 2, maybe she'll sleep when she's 3, and then school starts. How does your child really understand what proper sleep is when you've never actually done it? So your 5-year-old and your 7-year-old will be like, what is sleep? I'm not going to sleep. We've never done this thing. We sleep when we want. And now that grows over a period of time where now the kids don't sleep, which then brings in learning difficulties and concentration in class, and your kids are crying. The idea is not fighting sleep. It is lack of parental intervention. The parent is the lead. Remember, this is not forceful. You lead. You are the parent. Let's not forget that. You be the parent. And teach your children what sleep looks like. 5-7-year-olds would require what I call encourage and reward. They require charts to show them when they need to sleep, and they are accountable for their sleep because they are able to, and they're in school, so they understand what it means to be accountable for your sleep. As a parent, it's more about encouraging that sleep and getting them to bed early.
Okay, another question here for you. Some sleep consultants actually recommend allowing crying it out, but under supervision for the child so that they can learn to self-soothe.
I agree, some. Now, this is where now the parents need to be able to do their homework. Again, do your homework. Please ensure that you literally take the sleep consultant through a very rigorous process for you to understand what their sleep philosophies are and what they believe in. I've always believed that crying it out and abandonment is a very desperate way of getting your baby to sleep, because you're tired and you actually don't know what you're solving. Let's say, for example, you have a parent trying to solve night wake-ups and your baby is not eating. So you're taking your child through a whole process of crying, yet they're hungry. I think, honestly, that's a very wrong approach to it. Number 2, you remember we're saying rocking and breastfeeding and everything. Your baby will go through the process of adjustment, and we need to give our babies time to go through adjustment, just like school. If they don't go through the adjustment, and adjustment for them is like, I don't want to do this, your child is not literally crying black and blue, but they are in this situation like, I don't know how to do this. That's why you're there. You need to understand what it means to respond to your baby's needs. What do they need? I don't know that for both of them I ever did this. Most of the time I would be like, if your baby is not adjusting, tomorrow is another day. You're not generally supposed to get sleep training off the bat.
All right. How long does it generally take?
Oh wow, that's a very hard question.
Or is it dependent on the child?
It depends on the intensity and how bad the issues are.
Okay.
Because one of the things, and I think Naomi is really agreeing with this, is the first thing I tell them is lower your expectations. I will not wave a magical wand. Lower your expectations, and then remember, this is something you'll do for the rest of your life. So you do not need to get it from the onset.
Okay, that's good advice. Now, Rose, we talked about some people saying, sleep training a child, that's just a selfish mother. Children came to this world to bond with their mothers. What do you say to that, considering your experiences with all your 3 kids?
Sleep is not sleep for your baby is not something that we do because we are selfish or because we want to sleep longer hours. It actually starts with the baby. You want your baby to sleep well. You want your baby to have restorative sleep. You want your baby to feed well. You want them to thrive. You want their because like I told you, my firstborn was not sleeping, so it meant we are in hospital all the time. She was not gaining weight, she was not feeding well. In fact, she even hated breastfeeding. So so those issues were there because she was not sleeping well. So eventually it ended up with us having an asthmatic child, because this child is not thriving, this child is not feeding well, and this child is not sleeping well. She's always tired. So of course you're going to have adverse health effects. So and after comparing with my second, who was sleeping, and you see this child is thriving, this child is happy, feeding well and everything else. So you know the difference between these two is because they are not sleeping. So I knew that for my third child, I want this child to sleep well. Yes, I will also sleep well, which is important, and I'll also be able to deal with my postpartum depression. But for me, it was not something that was selfish. It was not a selfish venture. It was something that I needed to give my child the gift of sleep, so that they thrive, so that they are happier. And I don't even know, why is it so wrong for mothers to be selfish?
Take care of themselves. Self-care.
Why is it wrong for us to also want to sleep? Because when you sleep, you're a better mother. I think for the first 3 months when I was struggling with Nate's sleep, I was also not able to interact with my older children well, because you're cranky, you have anxiety, so it was very easy to get angry at them for some very flimsy things that you can talk out and solve. I wanted to also be able to spend time with my older children. I also wanted to do homework with them, and the only way you can do that is if you have a small child who is sleeping and who is happier and who can be held by someone else, because a cranky baby, or no matter what you do, no one else is going to be able to to help you with that child. So first, we want our child to sleep, which is important for their health. Then second, I'm also allowed to be a bit selfish, so that I'm able to take care of the whole family, so that everyone is happy. So mothers out there, I think self-care is also very important. So don't be afraid to to worry about your own sanity.
Very well said. I remember going to those clinics with a child, and I would easily see how the nurses would look at the mothers and then cluster them for these .com mothers. They don't like breastfeeding, they don't. So when they hear the issues you're dealing with the child, they say it's your fault, it's your fault. Did you get that coming back at you when you tell people, I put my baby on and now my life is a certain way, and then they would say, you should know you became my mother. Act like one.
I did get, I actually did get some of that, some of it from some people, and it kind of did make me feel bad, but at the end of the day, you're not living my life. I'm the one who has to live here with my child, so that's just what I'm gonna have to do. But I mean, I feel like I had to personally step back and just ignore everybody else in order for me to get my sanity back at the end of the day. So that's what I did. I sleep trained. And even though, I don't agree with the crying it out method either, because even this was hard. I'm not gonna lie. The times that she would cry in the crib, I just want to go pick her up and hold her, and Ruth would be like, leave her alone. Is she changed? Is she fed? Is she all of those things? Then leave her. And I'd leave her. And even just 2 minutes later, she would calm down, just because I waited.
Okay, let's define self-soothing, first of all, before we get to your opinion as far as that whole stigma around sleep training. Let's talk about self-soothing.
A lot of times that word is misused. However, self-soothing is just the ability to put yourself to sleep without external attachments.
And this works for both kids and adults, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So being able to put yourself to sleep without your phone, without the TV on, or music at the background, that's your ability to put yourself to sleep. Remember, infants do not have the capacity to put themselves to sleep. So there is a certain timeline as to when this needs to be done. Because I have had crazy cases of somebody left their 6-week-old to cry black and blue for an hour. That is just wrong. However, you notice one of the things is moms get attached to all this, right? And when they come to me, they need a solution. And I know, and everybody, I think they both know, and anybody who knows me, they know, I know you're attached to this, but is it sustainable? And we bring it down to no. So how do we transition? Because I have to really take you through that process of knowing what to expect. And knowing that I do not know how your baby is going to take it, because I do not know your baby. but I learned through who your baby is in the process. We parent together. Now when it comes to self-soothing, it's very different for different kids. She mentioned her baby was an easy transition. Kenya is a fighter. She fought, her temperament is this, and I still today tell her that your baby is a fighter. And so that, whichever method is chosen, would depend from one baby to another. But the idea is, how does your baby go down? The more they get attached to rocking, the more you notice, you put them down, they wake up, they're constantly up. You cause sleep, they still don't sleep. You give them a pacifier, they throw it out. You remember old school, funga mtoto kwa mgongo, put them on the back, still you cannot put them down. But what's the middle ground? It's such a catch-22.
Okay, now Nina is asking, now that you've mentioned about pacifiers, a yay or a nay?
Actually, I'm more of a nay on the pacifier business. It's because I know it's short-lived. One. Number two, at some point, your baby will reject it. Then what do? Remember the desperate measure to get your baby to sleep. You'll always be seeking a solution after solution. You will try crazy things. You've seen memes of rice being put in a glove and put on top of a baby to sleep. That's what I mean. Those are really desperate measures to get your baby to sleep. People, I mean Kenyans, you put your baby on the car seat, you drive around Nairobi. Trust me, you zimmer the car like this. They wake up. Really, it's counterproductive. Okay,
so now your reaction to those that throw stones at what it is that you do not believe in sleep training.
I basically, I understand where they come from, but the biggest problem is the lack of knowledge. Everybody comes to me with a Google kind of knowledge about sleep training, and then they go through the process and they realize this is just, it's more than sleep training. It's, I need you to understand your baby from your eyes, not from my eyes. I will guide you through it, but I need you to see it, and I need you to see how your baby is thriving through it. I have met those people like, so exactly what does Monday do? Exactly. It is we mother together. I just say that. We mother through this process together.
Okay. All right. We take another short break here on Your World. When we come back, we need to talk about how to maintain this whole sleep routine when mama is not there or goes back to work, because they will go back to something, to their usual routine. So how do you ensure that the child still continues with what you've taught them? We'll be right back. Back to studio into that conversation of the day, still with Ruth, Naomi and Rose. And Rose, you're a journalist. How old is the son now?
He's 9 months in Wednesday. He'll be 9 months on Wednesday. So.
Okay. Yeah. And are you back to work? You're a journalist.
Thankfully now we are working from home, so it's easier.
That has made it easier. Yeah, it's easier. But there are days where mama wants to just leave, go have some time to herself, socialize, you know, run errands and all that. So how do you ensure that the sleep routine you've established goes on with or without you?
I think everyone has to be on board in the house, so that's my husband and the caretaker, so that when you're away, they know what they're supposed to do. Thankfully, my house girl took to it very fast, because she also believes in babies sleeping and sleeping well. So whenever I'm leaving home, I tell her this is the schedule that we are using right now. So baby has to be in bed within the 2.5 hour window. Make sure he plays a lot. Make sure he's well fed. Make sure he takes his milk, so that when I go out and come back, nothing has changed. The baby is still sleeping well. The baby is still getting his restorative sleep. But the most important thing is that everyone in that house is on board, including my older kids. When they are at home during the weekends, so they know that right now the baby is sleeping, so we need to play with that in mind, so that nothing is disrupted.
Okay, so does that mean you have a big clock in the house where everyone is always checking what time it is to make sure they keep tabs?
No, actually, I have an app. I have an app on my phone called Huckleberry, so that's where we log his sleep, so that you don't miss. So it reminds you when it's almost time to sleep. Because you know, if you depend on the big clock on the wall and you're outside the house, you know, you don't have the clock to remind you. So it's just the phone will remind remind you, and I'm able to call and tell my house girl, it's time for the baby to sleep. And the good thing with her is she's so in tune with the baby, so that even if I'm outside and I forget to tell her, she knows the cues. She'll call and say, Mama Nate, the baby is sleepy. Is it time? And I'll tell her, oh my God, yes. He's supposed to be in bed. So she'll do the necessary. So that's why I'm saying it's very, very important that everybody is in tune with the program. And what is supposed to happen.
And speaking about being in tune, we have Dexter here, and I need to give a big shout out to him. He's really following this conversation and seems very vested in the same. He says, it's still, as fathers, I believe that for the baby to sleep, we need to chip in as much as possible to help with the peace in the house. Sleep training helps with management of homes and a better understanding and a happy wife. Okay. Clearly, you agree, don't you?
Definitely.
So tell me, how have you been able to manage when you're there or not?
Definitely by having everybody on board. That is key, because when I first started the sleep training, I had a previous nanny that I used to complain about, but she would I would tell her what to do. I even showed her what to do, how to put the baby down and everything, but while I was gone, she wouldn't be doing what I was telling her to do. And also I could tell, because when I would come home, the baby would be overtired, as if she didn't sleep for her nap, or she didn't get put down on time, so she woke up a little earlier. So definitely having the right people on board, because now I brought in this other woman and I've actually shown her exactly what to do, told her you go up there 15 minutes before, explain to her, and she listens. And that's the thing, being on the same page, it makes a difference, because I see the difference in my child.
Okay, definitely. Interesting, because I actually have a friend. I remember she had done so much to ensure that her child was sleep trained. It was time to go back to work. And the first day she came back from work, she found the help had the child on the back with the lesser. She almost lost her mind. Because you know how much of a regression that will actually, take you back to. Talk about how you can be able to achieve this, because it's one thing because you're sold to it. It's another when somebody else is coming from a different socialization as to how to bring up your child, especially the nannies.
So one of the things I do, especially in the evaluation form, mostly I also ask, are you going to go back to work? What is your home setting? Remember, it's per home. What is your home setting? What are your goals? What do you need to achieve with the sleep training? It's not just about sleep for me. It's about the whole house. It's, you have older kids, how do you balance this home and ensure you have a small baby that's sleeping through the night or not? So when I ask the parents, okay, fine, you have a nanny, we've done this, say, for 2 weeks, and the baby is really, it's a smooth ride. So when the mom tells me I'm going back to work at this particular time, I start introducing the nanny into the program. So the parent needs to engage the nanny, because I may not know the nanny, because then you live with her. So we talk to them in a language they understand, because at the end of the day, you go back to work, their work suffers, the baby suffers, and you come home to literally crazy, because now nobody knows what they need to do. So the first thing I always tell parents is, if you're going to be on board, first the husband has to be on board, your nanny has to be on board, because you do not want to be judged for decisions that you're making, yet at the end of the day it's for all of you. So once everybody's on board, dad will do sleep, mommy will do sleep, and nanny will do sleep. Because at those days mommy's like, I just need to take a shower. So dad, it's about parenting, it's not babysitting. So dads also take that bit where they also need to learn how to put their kids to sleep.
I'm curious to know, Rose, it's easy to control what's happening in the house, but there are days where the family goes out. How do you handle the sleeping patterns? Because it's bound to be disrupted.
Especially during weekends when you have chama and you want to go visit your in-laws, or you want the most important thing is that the baby sleeps. That's what Mwende tells us, because like in the house, for me, I've ensured that the room he's sleeping is pretty dark, but you're not going to go to your mother and tell them this room needs to be pretty dark. So the most important point at that time is to make sure that your baby is sleeping. So you make sure you adhere to the wake windows. Of course, there are going to be disruptions variations here and there, but as long as they are sleeping, at that time actually I have no problem with rocking the baby to sleep. Even if he's going to sleep for 20 minutes, I have no problem carrying the baby, wearing the baby so that he sleeps. So he'll sleep, because I know the next day we are going to go back to the same routine. And the thing is, because I was worried, I told her, you're telling me that I can put him to sleep in any way when I'm away, but what happens on Monday, now that we are back home? And she told me, you'll be surprised, and I was, because when we went back home, nothing changed. He slept the usual way. I just put him to bed the usual way and everything. And the first night we went away, we went to sleep. I went over to my mom's, and we were sleeping over there. And I knew there's no crib, so we are going to have to co-sleep. And I knew today we are not sleeping at all. And I was still surprised again. I actually called her in the morning and told her, what in the world did you do? Because this boy slept. I put him in bed. I didn't rock him. I put him in bed, and he went to sleep, and he woke up just once during the night. And I still again breastfed him and put him in bed awake, and he slept. In the morning, routine continued as usual. So it doesn't mean that now that you have sleep trained, it means you'll never go out. You go out as per usual.
Because you have vacations, and some of them are extended. It's not 1 day, it's 2 days, it's a week. How do you handle that, Naomi?
It's definitely sticking to a routine is what Ruth taught me. Like, stick to it. And you'll see that even with regressions. Like at her 1 year regression, for 2 weeks she completely refused her second nap. But every day I stuck to the same routine of going through the routine, putting her in bed. Even though she would stand up, I would say, lay down. I would lay down a couple of times. After like 45 minutes or so, I see she's not going to sleep, I'd take her out and let her play. And then dinner would be earlier and bedtime would be earlier because she missed that nap. So, but sticking to the routine, and I found that when we go outside, she'll sleep naturally at the time she's supposed to.
Okay, that's very encouraging, because this totally disrupts families when they have to travel or they have to do their day-to-day errands, especially at the weekend. So your advice, Ruth?
You're only in control of sleep. Generally, you have people over, that doesn't mean your kids are awake. It means your kids are still sleeping. You also need to learn how to excuse yourself and also be mindful of your child's sleep, because you have visitors, but that does not mean that your child stays awake for 5 hours. You will pay for it when everybody else has left. And then guess what? You do that 3 days, you literally go back, and then now you give your baby a harder transition just because of that. If you're traveling, and a lot of times, I think most parents know this, over the weekend I may not check in because I know there's a lot of disruption. But has your baby slept? Naps are always on the go. Did you sleep at your in-laws? Did you do this? How long did your baby sleep? The idea is to make sure that the total day sleep is done well. Total night sleep, please give your baby time to adjust. You're taking them from their point of comfort to a new home. Even you are going to have a struggle sleeping.
That new mattress syndrome.
It is still there. Again, babies are not mechanical, they're human. So deal with them as human. Know that I am moving from my house, I'm going to my mother-in-law's. It's going to be a whole mess. And again, remember, when you're going to somebody else's house, you need to learn to respect what the rules look like, and learn how to excuse yourself politely that the baby needs to go and sleep. That way, you do not mess everything that you may have worked on. But again, it's fine. The way she said, you can rock the baby. The good thing about sleep-trained babies is the reset happens so fast, you never notice it.
When they're back to familiar ground. Okay, and talk about this, and this comes from Daisy. There are those sleep practitioners who say, keep the room quiet so that the baby can fall asleep. Then there are those mothers who say the baby should be able to sleep anywhere and everywhere. So noise or no noise, they should be able to fall asleep. How do you, because you can't control this all the time. So how do you handle this?
I remember what we talked about sleep independence.
Yes.
I don't know whether they can attest. Your child can sleep through an earthquake.
Okay. All right, so what are we talking about here? So there are visitors in the sitting room. It's loud, people are being chatty, there's perhaps music, but you still want to stick to your routine. What do you do with your son?
I just do what I usually do. So I'll put him in his sleeping bag and put him in bed, and he will sleep, even if there are
no noise.
Even if a dog barks outside the window,
He will not wake up.
Personally, I was using white noise. I put it on when she's falling asleep, and then just turn it off when she's in sleep.
And white noise in this case would be music or whatever else.
Well, me, I use a fan. It's a fan sound on I have an app.
Okay.
So yeah, you can download an app for white noise. They have all different types, a vacuum cleaner and everything, and those babies sleep through anything.
Okay, but the question is, won't they get addicted to that?
That's what I thought. Even I had asked her, but no, because even if she doesn't have it, she's able to sleep at the time she's supposed to sleep. Yeah.
Because I remember even watching Fatherhood. Same thing. It was a vacuum.
Yeah.
Everyone sleeps. What is with white noises and sleep?
It is soothing.
It's-
Even adults use it sometimes. But remember, with adults again, you get addicted to the same rhythm. You notice something she said about the white noise. She switches it off.
Yes.
It is not the tool to aid the baby to sleep. It is meant to quiet down the external. But there are kids, and I call them sensitive sleepers. But most of the time, you'll notice that the kids who are rocked, breastfed, and pacified to sleep, their sleep is not restful. Restful sleep is the one that you slept. That is why you can hear an ambulance pass by or something, and you're like, what is that? And still go back to sleep. Restorative sleep for me is the ultimate goal. Yeah.
Good one. So here's a question I think I had asked you earlier on, but I'd like to hear your reaction. Have you had a fun term baby crying?
Yeah.
Have you experienced it?
Yes.
Okay. And when we talk about fun term, mothers, I'm sure you know this. If the baby is asleep, you know they're fast asleep, but the moment you turn on the shower, you can hear the baby crying. When you come out, nothing. Rose, what's your experience?
I've left the shower midway. Only to get to the door, and my son is asleep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now I'm soapy.
Yes.
I just ruined my towel. I have to get another towel. I think it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back and take a shower. But I think over time you realize this is just a phantom cry, because this baby is sleep trained. So there's no way. I've just put him back into bed 2 minutes ago, and now he's awake.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to him taking 2 hours, 2 hour naps, and if it's at night, I'm sure he's not going to wake up until around 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you get used to it. But now if your baby is not sleep trained, you never know whether it's a phantom cry or whether it's
It's for real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me understand, Naomi. Perhaps what would be the greatest concern here that would feed to phantom crying? What's the greatest concern? If I finish my shower, the baby will do what?
Die. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's a scary feeling, and I think it's mostly just anxiety within us, the mother, a motherly instinct. But I don't know.
Okay. And Ruth, I asked this question because there's some sleep trainers who say when the baby cries, like just to signal I'm awake, take a minute or two before you respond. But there are those, "Nyeh, you're there," which works.
Let's get to the science of sleep now. Because then the science of sleep is what dictates everything. Because there's sleep training as an art, and then there's actually sleep as a science. So we all move through sleep cycles where you're asleep, dead asleep, you partially wake up and you continue sleeping. Babies go through those motions. But with kids, they wake up, they cry, you hear them, and they go back to sleep. But now maternal instincts will be like, come here. Now the problem with that is you keep fragmenting your baby's sleep constantly. And then guess what? You do that, they wake up again, they wake up again, they wake up again. How about allow your baby to go through the cycle? Maybe they were dreaming. And then just wait. And then they'll go back. And all children will cry in their sleep.
Oh.
All of them between cycles. So the first part of sleep is 5 hours of deep sleep. The deeper sleep, at midnight, everybody, every adult, children, you'll move into part 2 of the sleep between 1 to 5 a.m. Mostly you're in and out of sleep. That's why you can hear the birds chirping, you can hear dodo who. But then if you've watched your baby sleep, they're constantly kind of tossing and turning. And you're like, this one has not slept. They're actually asleep. They're just moving through the motions of sleep. Now, when your baby's awake, trust me, you will know when your baby's awake. If they're up because they're hungry, they will cry, literally wide awake crying. But if their eyes are closed and they're in between sleep, give them a moment.
Okay, now something else here. There are those who say when the baby sleeps on their tummy, they sleep longer. There are those who say when they look up, because they're fidgety, they even shock themselves awake. What have you seen and what works?
Wow, that's again different. I believe infants should never sleep on their tummies.
Okay.
Sudden infant death syndrome. They do not have proper head-neck coordination. Please don't do that. And I know the myth, but it's not safe. So babies sleep on their backs. We were talking about the swaddle. See that?
Yes.
That's why the swaddle works, because of the moral reflex. It goes away. You transition from the swaddle to the sleeping bag to now their hands are all over the place. Babies sleep like starfish. So they're all over the place. But it's not the position. It's short-lived. Look at it this way. Your baby is sleeping on their tummy. At 4 or 5 months, they realize, oh, I can turn. What you're going to do about it? You can't keep flipping them over.
Yes.
Basically, it's the thing of looking for solution after solution is just going to be very frustrating for the parent. Yeah.
Okay. Now, a lot of learnings clearly from this conversation, and I'm sure for those that are hearing sleep training for the first time, you now see what the benefits would be, but I can tell you it takes tough skin coming from somebody who's sleep trained. And as we bring this conversation to a close, what would you say about sleep training, how it's changed your life, and what perhaps you can encourage others who want to try it out, Rose?
For me, I think proper sleep hygiene is very important for a child, so that they're able to thrive and grow, and they're happy, they play better, so that you don't have a child who is biting because they also develop some very funny behavioral problems if they're not sleeping well. So for me, my whole family is sleeping, which is a plus. No one is waking up at night multiple times because there's a baby. I think if you want to sleep train, please do it for your own sanity, so that you're also able to go through life happier and enjoy your baby, because it's very important to enjoy your baby. They are only babies for a very short time.
Oh yeah.
So you don't have to look back and all you can remember is a haze. So if you're open to sleep training, please go for it. It's not easy, but the rewards are immense, and both you and your baby will benefit from it. And don't worry about what society is going to say, because really society has something to say about everything.
Anyway.
Yeah. So do you, and make sure that your child is well rested, they have restorative sleep, so that they can thrive and they are happier.
Okay. And Naomi, we established that this sleep training, the parents need to be trained for it to be successful. Talk about that.
The parents do need to be trained, but I would recommend sleep training 100% at the end of the day, and I would say start as early as possible. Start as early as possible for the care of the child, but also your own self-care as well. And also with like my child, I noticed her behavior was a lot better now that she's actually sleeping. So I definitely recommend Ruth, because, and I'm not just saying that just because I know you, but because I loved the interaction between us and the relationship that we were able to establish. And it was like Ruth was parenting my child as well with me. So I did enjoy that.
Okay, excellent. So 2 things. First of all, Ruth, when is the best time to start? I think we need to establish that, because we keep saying early enough. What is early enough?
Early enough can be from birth. And I say that because it's the small little things that you keep doing every single day. It is, you sleep, I put you in your crib. I am not spending the whole night with you on my chest, because you do that 8-10 weeks later, and then now you don't know what to do. So it's the small little things that you start with. Put the baby to bed, when you rock them, when they feed, it's the small things that you do then. Now, fully fledged sleep training should start at around, for me I start around week 10. I'm like, yeah, this baby is ready. If you come to me at 3 weeks, by around week 10, 11, I'm like, yeah, it's easier to start when they're younger. Before now, all the problems now become so huge, and these transitions are harder.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And the other thing, perhaps even as we think about sleep training, is when I engage a sleep practitioner, is it that they come to my home to get this done, to ensure they know which child they're dealing with? How does this work?
Okay, now let's start with, before you engage a sleep practitioner, please vet your sleep practitioner.
Okay.
Let's start there. You heard she engaged somebody who either did not get results or it just didn't work.
Okay.
So that's the first part. Do your research, do your homework, that's important. Number 2, there are different packages that a parent can take in. I told you, this is the first time they are COVID babies. I call them COVID babies because since COVID I have not done any home visit. But we've had interesting conversations and they wonder how I know their kids. So it's in between that session where you're like, okay, fine. A sleep practitioner can come to your home and see your baby. I can put any baby to sleep, but immediately I walk through the door, you won't know what to do. So for me, I tell them, and I've told a lot of parents, I want you to take this as a learning phase. It's me educating you how sleep looks like, but I want you to see it through your child's eyes and know what you need to do. Otherwise, every book would be right about your baby. Every single book. Babies are not that perfect when it comes to sleep.
Okay, so even as we reiterate, sleep patterns, sleep rhythms, what would you want to underscore for the parents?
They are unique to every child. Even parents of multiples, your kids are never the same. Your twins, triplets, quadruplets, they'll never be their sleep patterns will never be the same. Because even when I sleep train twins, they are different children. I literally just split identical fraternal, they are different children because their sleep patterns their fingerprints are as unique. It's the same thing with their sleep patterns. Yeah.
Interesting. Ruth Mwende, sleep consultant, baby whisperer, Naomi Wamboi, artisan, mother of one, and Rose Mudani, journalist, mother of three. Thank you, ladies, for being part of this session. A lot of learning. Some of us have been down this road, but still, I had something new today, and I also see where I went wrong with some of the things, because there were some places I struggled, but hey, I'm glad that I also took it up. So if this is something you'd like to take up, now you know it's there. You know that you can actually get yourself a specialist to walk through this journey. And of course, we have lived experiences that say that it is possible. Well, tomorrow we shall be joined by a chef as we explore different ways of how to spruce up your meals on the go. Now, keeping in mind that the pandemic has made household budgets tight, and with the busyness of life, this will definitely come in handy. So see you then.